Hi, my name is Kurt Bowman, and I'm a 59-year-old CPA and business person from Fargo, North Dakota. Now this week I'm not filming in Fargo, I'm filming in Scottsdale. But I have been doing traditional weights and resistance training, cardio, I'm into cycling, I've done a few sprint triathlons, and about 4.5 years ago I just decided to do yoga after hearing from guys our age saying, Kurt, you got to do yoga, you got to do yoga. And I'd come to a point with all the weight training and different things that I couldn't touch my toes. I couldn't, my back was, lower back was sore because my hips were so tight. My balance was starting to wane. And I knew I had to refocus a little bit and add yoga to my normal workout routine. So I did yoga for about 4.5 years, and during COVID, when the gyms were shut down, I would do my practice at home, in the garage, that type of thing. And one day I said, why don't you start a YouTube channel called Yoga for Old Guys? And that's what I've done. I don't know, I probably have 10 or 15 videos published on a YouTube channel I started called Yoga for Old Guys. And I am filming this specifically for this particular Facebook site. Guys our age, I've looked at the site and it's really evident you guys are into exercise and fitness and good health. And I'm telling you that if you're not doing yoga, your legs are not as strong as they could be. If you're not doing yoga, your core is not as strong as it could be. My legs and core at age 59 have never been stronger than they are today. Not when I was 17, not when I was 18. And the thing I found about yoga is you think, that can't be very challenging. My first class in 4.5 years ago in August was an hour long, and after 6 minutes, my only goal was to try and make it through the whole hour. I call yoga the most deceptively challenging exercise that you can do. And so my challenge for you guys, specifically on this Facebook group, is if you've not tried yoga, follow along. I'm not a certified instructor. I'll never get to the full expression of the poses, but I have gained strength and flexibility and balance, and I know for a fact you will too. So if you're up for the challenge, let's get started. You can start in a comfortable seated position, and for some, that might be legs straight out. Excuse me. That might be a comfortable cross-legged position. But go ahead and just be seated. Let your wrists or hands rest on your knees or thighs. Sit up as straight as you can. Let your neck and head be balanced on right over your spine. Just pretend somebody is gently lifting you right up from the head, just picking you up off the ground, but it doesn't hurt. Just sit up as straight as you're able. Get your sits bones, those are the bones in the glutes, that get those grounded in. And now take a deep breath in through your nostrils. Exhale through the nostrils. One more time in. Fill it up. Exhale. Now, one of the tenets in yoga is just simply to breathe. We don't often breathe deeply enough or properly enough. So when I'm talking about inhale, it's in through the nostrils, out through the nostrils as I give those prompts. One more time in. Exhale. If your eyes were closed, go ahead and open them. Inhale, arms overhead. Drop your left hand to the mat and just lean into your ribs. Lean to the side. Stretch out those right ribs. Don't lean forward or back. Inhale back to arms overhead. Drop your right hand. Lean into the right. Inhale, arms overhead. Drop your hands, arms to the left. Twist with your torso, not your eyes. Twist to your left with your eye, or with your torso, not your eyes. Open up that chest to your left. Inhale, come back to center. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, twist to the right. Drop your arms to the right. Open up with your torso. Keep your sits bones planted. Twisting to the right with your torso. Drop your back shoulder if you're holding yourself up. Come back to center. Roll over to your hands and knees in what's called tabletop. Inhale, drop your pelvis, drop your lumbar, bring your chest up and your head up. This is called cow. Exhale, roll your spine up. Let your head and neck drop. Push up, push your shoulder blades away from the ground. This is called cat. Inhale into cow. Concave your spine as much as you're able. Exhale into cat. Inhale again into cow. Exhale into cat. Come into a neutral spine. Spread your hands widely, your fingers wide. Curl your toes under and push back into downward facing dog. Now you may not get your heels to the ground. That is not a problem. I may never either. The whole idea, go ahead and drop your neck and your head, let them hang. And you're pushing back into a V. Pretend you're pushing your tailbone up to that imaginary or that line where the ceiling meets the wall. Point it, push back, push back. Walk your feet back, or walk your hands back to your feet, the back of your mat, and just let your head, neck, and arms hang. Slight bend in your knees. Don't straighten them out yet. Bend as deeply as you're able, but a little bend in your knee. Grab your elbows, just a gentle sway back and forth. Hands down again toward your toes. Now just gently straighten your knees a little bit. Roll up one vertebrae at a time, up to standing. Come into mountain pose. Bring your shoulders up, back, and down. Open up those shoulders. Don't round them out. We walk around too much with our shoulders rounded, especially if we're doing a lot of weights. Open up your palms, point them forward into the anatomical position, and just concentrate on opening and dropping the shoulders. Give those shoulders a stretch. Squeeze the blades together. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifted. The whole idea here, guys, is to have a straight back. Look 6 inches out in front of you. Neck is long. Your head and spine are in line. Even if you have to come up to your thighs, your shins, some can do it from the floor. I'm not able to. Come into a straight back. Forward fold. Walk your hands out into a high plank. Point your toes straight back and just drop your pelvic area into an upward facing dog. Your legs are off the ground, your knees are off the ground. If you need an accommodation and you need to put them down, that's fine. But shoot for having legs straight, pelvis down, hips are down, and just stretch out that back a little bit. Curl your toes back, come into high plank, and push back into downward dog. Walk your hands back again. Come into a forward fold. Roll up to mountain. Again, shoulders back and down. Deep breath in through the nostrils. And exhale through the nostrils. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Walk your hands out again. You're coming into high plank. Always remember to engage your core, legs, and glutes. You should be ramrod straight, especially this group. Push back into downward dog. Bring your right leg up to what's called three-legged dog. Straight out behind you, point those toes. Right knee, left elbow. Three-legged dog. Right knee, right elbow. Three-legged. Right knee, chest. Three-legged. Bring your right foot up by your right thumb. Left leg is off, or left leg is straight. Hands are still on the mat, even if you're on your fingertips. Left palm down on the mat, and bring your right arm up over your head, opening your torso to the right. Keep that left leg straight. Stretching out. Both hands back down to the mat. High plank. Push back into downward facing dog. Left leg, three-legged dog. Left knee, right elbow. Three-legged. Left knee, left elbow. Three-legged. Left knee, chest. Three-legged. And bring your left foot up by your left thumb. Right leg is straight. Drop your right palm to the mat and bring your left arm up overhead, twisting to the left, opening up that chest, stretching the glute. Palms to the mat. Come into high plank, downward facing dog. This time walk your feet up to your hands, front of your mat, forward fold. Come into halfway lifted. Forward fold. And roll your spine one vertebrae up at a time. Come into mountain. Palms open, shoulders back and down. Breath in. Exhale. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifted. Exhale, forward fold. Step back into high plank. We're going to lower into what's called Chaturanga. Keep your elbows tight against your torso. Lower into a push-up position, but about 3-4 inches off the ground. Point your toes back. Come into upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath. Walk your hands back to your feet. Forward fold. Walk your hands out to a high plank. And now walk your feet up to the front of your mat. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifted. Exhale, forward fold. Adding to that series, roll yourself up to standing. Come into mountain pose. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifted. Exhale, come into high plank. Lower into Chaturanga. Point the toes back. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg, three-legged dog. Bring your left foot up by your left thumb. Drop your back foot out to about a 45. Come into warrior one. Now check your alignment. Your knee should be over your ankle, always in these positions. Left leg is bent. You can see your big toe and the one next to it, the second toe. Hips are to the front of the room, square. You may have to move your back leg out a little bit for some. Square up the hips and bring your arms forward. This is warrior one. Bring your arms back along your body, lean forward, chest out. Lean over that knee, keep the knee over the ankle though. Come back into warrior one. Hands to the mat, high plank. Lower into Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg, three-legged dog. Right foot forward. Drop the back foot. Come into warrior one. Remember, square up the hips. Look at your knee. Is it tracking forward? Arms back, chest out. Into a Superman. Come back into warrior one. Hands to the mat. High plank. Lower into Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Look between your hands. Walk or step to the front of your mat. Inhale forward or exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifted. Exhale, forward fold. And come up into mountain. Take a breath. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifted. Come into high plank. Lower into Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left leg, three-legged dog. Left foot forward. Drop the back foot. Now come up into warrior two. Are your hips now to the side of the room? Left arm is pointed straight out in front. I turn my right arm. The traditional pose is for your back arm to be down or your hand to be down too. I turn my palm up to stretch out my shoulder. Arms are level. Hips are to the side of the room. Drop the back hand. Bring your left hand over. Reverse warrior. Come back up into warrior two. Drop the left elbow onto the knee. Bring your right arm straight up and over. Your back, head, and neck are against the proverbial wall behind you, imaginary wall. From your tip of your right finger to your right heel should be a straight line. Opening up that chest. Come into warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Tilt out at the waist. Come down into triangle. Bring that right arm up overhead. Bring your back, neck, and head against that wall. You don't have to go to the ground if it means, with your left hand, if it means that you're going to curl forward, open up the chest. Come back into warrior two. Front leg is bent. Windmill the hands to the mat. Come into high plank. Push back into downward facing dog. Look between your hands, step or hop to the front of your mat. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifted. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, roll yourself up to mountain pose. Shoulders are back and down. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifted. Exhale, high plank. Lower into Chaturanga. Keep those elbows in. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg, three-legged dog. Bring the right foot forward. Drop the back foot. Come into warrior two. Square those hips against the side wall. Look out over that now right hand. Get the shoulders opened up, chest opened up. Drop your back hand, reverse warrior. Bring your right arm up. Stretch out those right ribs. Come back into warrior two. Drop the right elbow to the right knee. Left arm overhead. Side angle. Remember, laser straight between your heel and your tip of your fingers. Come back into warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Tick-tock. Right hand down. Left hand up. Open the chest to the back wall here. Head and neck. Flatten it out. Open it wide. Come back into warrior two. Windmill your arms to the ground. Come into high plank. Lower into Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath. Maybe pedal out those heels. Inhale, right leg, three-legged dog. Right foot forward up by your thumb. Keep your toes, your back toes up. Heel is up, or your toes down, heels up. Come into a Superman, chest off the ground, out in front of you, arms down along your side. Now bring your hands up like a warrior one. This is called Crescent Lunge. Can you get your front leg to a 45 or a 90? Excuse me, a 90. Bring your arms back, chest out. Hands to the mat. High plank. Lower into Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left leg, three-legged dog. Left foot forward. Toes down in the back, heel up. Come into a Superman. Chest is out, arms down along parallel to your body, your torso. Hands up into a Crescent Lunge. Sink down, get that left leg into a 90 if you're able. Back leg is straight. Push the back heel. Arms down along your side into a Superman. Hands to the mat, high plank. Lower into Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walk your feet up to the front of your mat. Forward fold. Let your head hang a minute. Roll up into mountain. Take your right leg, swing it out 3-4 feet apart from your left. Coming into a wide leg. Hands at the hip. Bending forward at the hip. Allow your fingers to drop to the mat. Head hang. Neck hang. Walk your fingers over to the left toes. Come back to neutral center. Walk them over to the right. Come back to center. Hands to your waist. Come back up into standing. Bring your feet together at the center of the mat. We're going to start today's session with just some very basic balance work. Ground into your left foot first. Imagine that your foot has 4 corners and ground all 4 corners of your foot into the ground. Now just take and kickstand your right toes a little bit. Get ground in and bring your right foot out in front of you about 6 inches. A little bit of a breeze here today in Scottsdale, but it's not that my balance is great anyway. Find something that isn't moving in front of you to focus on. Without touching your right foot to the floor, just bring it back behind you. Point your toes behind you. If you're able, keep as straight as, oh, I fell out of it, that's okay. Keep your torso as straight as you're able. Bring your right knee out in front of you. Up. Find something to balance or focus on. And bring your right foot down. Walk it out a little bit. Ground into your right foot. When it's nice and square, your right foot, bring your left toes out in front of you, 6 inches off the ground. Find that focus. You're going to find as you do this, you have one side that is more in balance than the other. I'm right-handed, but my right leg is weaker than my left. Almost 19 years ago, I severed my right Achilles, and obviously had to have surgery. Bring your left toes behind you, point them back. Bring your left knee up in front of you. Engage the core and bring it down. Walk it out. Okay. Come to the front of your mat. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lifted. Come into high plank. Lower into Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg, three-legged dog. Bring your right knee up by your right wrist. We're going to do a pose called Pigeon. Now, the fullest expression of Pigeon is that, in this case, your right leg and your right shin is at a 90 degree. So you want to bring your right foot forward as much as comfortable. Don't torque your knee. I'm never going to get it with the cardio and different leg work I've done over the years. It's never going to be 90 degrees. It doesn't matter. The point today is we're going to stretch out our hips. This is the best hip opener I've ever had in my life. Point your left toes back. Move your left foot further away from your body. Just come up, fingers on the mat, and push yourself up. Now here's where you want to focus. If you say, oh boy, it's a nice pull if I roll my hip out or roll it in, don't do either. Just let it drop straight down. Focus on your pelvis going right to the floor. Now, you can stay here, or if you're able, come down onto your forearms. Again, not rolling right or left, but pelvis straight down, pushing your toes back, your left toes back. Or if you're able, you can come down with your forehead on the mat or on your hands as low as you're able. And the whole idea here today is to open up the hip. Just allow that hip, that pelvis to sink straight down. And just let it drop. Push back up, hands on the mat, push yourself up, and curl your left toes under, come into right leg, three-legged dog, shake out that leg, come into downward facing dog, left leg, three-legged dog, left knee up by your left wrist, push your right toes back as far as you're able. Get them away from your body. Allow the pelvis to sink again. working on the left hip. Just let gravity take over. Before I started yoga, I could maybe have a foot distance between the bottom of my thigh and my I couldn't get down there. Come down onto your forearms if you're able. Whatever you did last time on your right, come into it on your left. Just allow gravity to take over. Feel that hip opening. Come back up. Curl your right toes under, push back into left leg, three-legged dog. Downward facing dog. Walk your hands back a little bit closer to feet. Now you want to see if you can get your heels closer to the ground. Stretch those legs out. Drop your knees to the mat. Bring your big toes together. Bring your knees wide. And push your glutes back into child's pose. Anytime during any yoga practice, if you just need a break, need to rest the upper body or stretch out the lower back, child's pose is always acceptable. Let your head drop. Come into tabletop. Roll your toes back and come into high plank. Always in any high plank or low plank, your glutes, your legs are engaged, pushing your shoulder blades away from the ground. Come down into low plank, traditional plank. Remember, you're engaged, back is straight, legs are straight. Squeeze out those planks, get the glutes tight. Come back up into high plank. Push back into downward facing dog. Come down to your mat and seated on long way along your mat. Now just sitting up, legs straight out in front of you. Just bend at the waist and come forward as much as you're able. For some that might be hands down to the shins, might be down to the toes. Wherever you're at, just stretch it out. Come back up. Bring the soles of your feet together. Heels close to your pelvis as you're able. Go ahead and grab them and pull them in tight. Called butterfly. It's okay to use your elbows, push your knees down and apart. Just stretch out that groin. Legs out in front of you. Bring the knees up, heels in, not as tightly as you're able, but sitting up, heels in. Bring your feet up off the ground into what's called boat. For right now, your knees are bent into about a 90 close. Your back, get your back straight. And if you're able, bring your hands out in front of you. You're engaging that lower ab. Bring your left leg straight. Keep your right bent. Switch. Right straight, left bent. Switch. Switch again, right straight, left bent. Switch. Both straight. Keep your back straight. Come into low boat. Come back into straight-legged boat. Come down into boat again, low boat, canoe. Come back up into boat, straight-legged. Go ahead and bend your legs, bring them in just a little bit. You're still in boat. Come back out straight-legged. Come down to canoe. Come back up into straight-legged boat. Shaking is okay. And come down to on your back on the mat. Knees are up. Bring your right thigh over your left thigh. Raise your hips a couple inches and bring them to the left and allow your knees to fall to the right. Bring your arms out to a T and look over your left arm. Your shoulders, as much as you're able, should be on the ground. Having your shoulders down is more important than having your knees on the ground. Just let them fall to the right as much as they're able. Come back up. Switch left over right. Raise your hips, bring them to the right a couple inches, and allow your knees to fall to the left, looking out over your T arms, your right arm right now. Come back up. Bring your legs straight out in front of you, bringing them as wide as your mat is. Allow your feet to fall out away from your body. Arms down along your side, palms up. Release your yoga breathing. And just breathe naturally. Allow your feet to relax, your calves, your legs, just let everything go. Let your glutes rest, your torso, your shoulders, just let it melt into the mat. Let your face relax. This is called Shavasana. And there's more than one yoga instructor who has said, even if you just practice Shavasana, allowing your body to relax once in a while, that is in itself therapeutic. Start wiggling your hands and your toes, bringing some movement back. Roll over onto your right side and push yourself up into seated. Take one more deep cleansing breath, this time in through your nostrils but out through your mouth. Thank you for practicing with me today. This was kind of a basic starter course. If you choose to follow along, we're gonna do more challenging poses, and you can find this video and several others on my channel called yogaforoldguys.com or Yoga for Old Guys, and I also have a Gmail called yogaforoldguys@gmail.com if you want to drop me a note, or you're looking for something more challenging we can build in. I'd love to hear from people. This is just a hobby for me, so anything you can do to help me out, if you want to like and share or subscribe, that's great too. Traditionally, yoga classes are closed with a slight bow and the term namaste. It means I bow to you. And we don't bow to anybody but God, but I want to thank you, and just bringing my palms together, dropping your chin in gratitude to yourself for taking the time to practice. To you I say namaste. Thanks. Have a great day.